Hello, everyone, and welcome to Carbonetic's social network platforms. My name is Martin Prescott. It's a pleasure today to introduce you to Mr. Jacques Prescott, my cousin, which is our Chief Sustainability Officer here at Carbonetic Group. Hello, Jacques. How are you today?
Fine, thank you, Martin.
So, Jacques, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, you see, Martin, from the start of my professional career, I specialized in the field of biodiversity, sustainable development, and governance. Of course, I have a master's degree from University of Montreal in biology and also a management certificate from North Carolina State University. And as a consultant for international organizations for many years, I produced national biodiversity strategies and advised government and private organizations in their sustainable development approach. And also, I was asked by UN agencies to publish guidelines on these subjects. So I was greatly involved internationally in that field. And also here in Canada, I was started my career as a curator and director of the Quebec Zoological Garden, where I manage all aspects of the institutions and also pay great attention to contributing to the role of zoos and wildlife conservation nationally and internationally as well. And eventually I joined the Quebec Department of Environment, was asked to coordinate the implementation of the United Nations Biodiversity Convention. And also later on, I was involved in the development of the province sustainable development framework and strategy. Was working with all the different departments and agencies of the province. And during these years also, I managed for a number of months the Endangered Species Program in the province of Quebec. And after all this, I would say, very active career for the Quebec government, in 2007, I was asked to join the Commissioner of the Environment and Sustainable Development in Ottawa as a director. And I was involved there in the training of auditors in the integration of sustainable development principles in performance audits. And also I produced a report for the federal government on the integration of sustainable development principles in the management at the federal level. And also all these years, I've been very much involved in non-government organizations. I chaired, for example, the Canadian chapter of the World Conservation Union and organized the first World Conservation Congress in Montreal. Also involved with Nature Canada, which is the most important environmental NGO in Canada. Involved with and chairman of the Nature Serve Canada, which is a major program from the Nature Conservancy, involved in the management of a global biodiversity database. And also served for a few years, of 5-6 years, I guess, on the board of the Royal Society of Canada, Global Change Program. I was there working with major meteorologists, sociologists, economists, and advising the government on how to tackle global change from a Canadian perspective. And for nearly 20 years, also, I worked in the banking sector with the Desjardins Credit Union. As you know, the Desjardins Credit Union is heavily involved in responsible investment. So what I did is, with a number of other colleagues, we reviewed the environmental performance of private Canadian corporations and advised Desjardins on, I would say, better ways to select investment targets. And all these years also, I published a number of books and articles on zoology, biodiversity, environmental issues, and sustainable development, and be involved in been involved in the organization of several workshops, conference, and here nationally and internationally. I worked basically in about 40 different countries over the years, and my recent projects involve the review of the Quebec policy regarding the woodland caribou and the forest management. We also contributed to the coordination of Algeria National Sustainable Development Strategy, and I trained also in Algeria a number of experts from the National Economic and Social Council on the sustainability analysis of national policies and other issues in the country. Also was involved recently in the review of the national biodiversity strategies in Egypt and in Seychelles. Two very interesting experiences where you have to work with people from very different culture. So this, I would say that most of my career was, as I mentioned, trying to help in understanding how you can integrate those sustainability principles and the UN Sustainable Development Goals in your practices. So I think that this might be helpful in the development of a better society at this stage.
So obviously, with your extensive experience, no wonder why the Carbonetic group wanted you on board as, you know, our Chief Sustainability Officer. And thank you very much. So first question I can ask you, Jacques. So what was your proper, not intention, but what was your, you know, your first thought when Carbonetic project business model has been shown to you, you know, like more than 18 months ago already? What is the reason personally why you decided to get involved into Carbonetic operations?
I think, first of all, I think this was a great idea to put into action sustainability principles, because this project does involve the protection of biodiversity, management of natural forests. It involves the development of employment in native communities, in indigenous communities in northern Canada. And it involves also a great economic perspective or potential, not only for the local communities, but also for the business in general around the world, because as we all know, businesses now are looking for, I would say, straightforward and genuine carbon offsets to improve their own carbon footprint. And so this project, this Carbonetic project, is really I would say, a fulfillment of a long career in my case, where I can now put my hands in something extremely concrete to fulfill my goals of sustainable development for the planet and for my country here in Canada.
Great. And what about, so Chief Sustainability Officer, what is your role and responsibilities into the company?
Well, as you know now, the clients, I would say the general public, is expecting that businesses would integrate sustainability principles in their own management. And this is something I did for the government of Canada, for the government of Quebec for several years, and also for a number of corporations in Canada. And it's a no-brainer that you have now to integrate those principles in your management. So this will be my first goal here with Carbonetic, making sure that we keep on or develop our leadership in that sense and become one of the key players in Canada and internationally in the field of ESG management and sustainability management.
Excellent. And we are working actually on the fourth subsidy company, right? Which kind of come in completion before the end of 2022, which is a consulting services company attached to, Carbonetic. So tell us a little bit more about your role, who's going to be very critical regarding actually the consulting services company that we are building by the end of the year.
Yes, of course. Well, why should we be involved in consulting? It's only because when we work with our partners, we want them to be as experienced as ourselves in the field of ESG and sustainability, and we want to give them the possibility to use the analytical tools that we are using for our own purpose, tools that have been recognized as extremely performing by the United Nations. I'm talking about what we call the Sustainable Development Analytical Grid, developed by my colleagues in the Université du Québec. And this grid has been used and taught internationally. We presented that grid to the Chinese government. We trained a number of African experts in different countries in Africa on the use of that grid. And this tool is also being used by the different industries here in Quebec and different places in Canada. So that tool has been recommended also by the United Nations Department of Social Affairs and Economic Affairs, UNDSA. And that's why, and this tool is still poorly known by the business world at the moment. And we think that it's a key tool to be used by the businesses. And it will be our goal to use such tool in the analysis of the performance in sustainable development for all the partners with whom we'll be working. So that's one example of what we would like to do. And there's a number of other tools linked to certification processes. For example, the ISO certification processes that will be used by our team to help the different companies to improve their management. So we intend to use the best tools available. We intend to put to work the best expert, because we'll be basing our action on the collaboration of numerous experts in different fields with whom we've worked over the years. And so it's going to be, I would say it's going to be fun and extremely fulfilling to develop that new branch of our company.
As a last question for you, Jacques, for the interview today. So you're talking about experience and other advisors and other people that you are surrounded with, to support you in your process there as a Chief Sustainability Officer. Can you tell us a little bit more about all the other partners which are surrounding us and the reason why these guys joined us and decided, to follow our path?
Yeah, so one extremely important person that has been working with us from the beginning is Claude Villeneuve. Claude is a biologist. He's the chair of the on eco-advising at the Université du Québec in Chicoutimi. And Claude is also has worked as a editor of a major environmental magazine for many years. He's published heavily, I would say, in climate change, and working currently on research regarding the boreal forest sequestration, carbon sequestration rates, and such issues. And so Claude we're extremely happy and delighted to have him on board as a major, I would say, counselor. He's part of our advisory board, of course, and he's helping a lot in the way we're managing or we envisaging the future of our company. So this is one example. Another one is Ken Coates. Ken is from the University of Saskatchewan, and he's an expert in Indigenous issues in Canada. So he's helping us, making sure that we have the best relations possible with our colleagues and friends in the Indigenous communities. And he's helping in identifying new partners in those communities across Canada. So Ken is a major asset for us. Another one is Riccardo Valentini. Riccardo is in Italy. He's a major professor over there, and he's been a co-author of some of the reports from the International Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, and so he will be advising us on the different methodology that we could develop to measure carbon sequestration, and also help us in making sure that our goals are aligned with the prescriptions of the IPCC. And finally, we have Louis Fradette. Louis is also another expert in forestry management and carbon sequestration. He's based with Polytechnique Montreal. So he's more or less like an engineer, and he'll be advising us on artificial intelligence approaches, as well as carbon sequestration methods, and I would say all the engineering aspect of our work. So with such a team around us, I think we're well equipped to face the different challenges that our project will be, of course, facing, like any other major undertaking internationally.
Jacques, thanks again for the introduction today. First, it's an honor, to have you on board with such experience, and of course, now bringing, other experienced and skilled people around Carbonetic community. So thank you very much for that. The goal of the video for our viewers today is, of course, to offer you a proper introduction regarding the operators of Carbonetic Group. We've got plenty. We've got to have extra content coming in the next few weeks. You'll get to know our CEO. You'll get to know our CLO. You'll get to know our CFO, CTO, and all the other guys, which are part actually of our team at Carbonetics. Thank you for your viewing today. Enjoy your day, and talk to you soon. Thank you, Jacques.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.